On the night of November 24, 1971, a man boarded a plane in Portland, Oregon. He was polite, calm, neatly dressed in a dark suit and tie. He ordered a bourbon and soda, smoked cigarettes, and blended in with the other passengers. But midway through the flight, he handed a note to a stewardess. It read, "I have a bomb." That man, known only by the alias D.B. Cooper, would pull off one of the boldest hijackings in American history. He parachuted into the night with $200,000 in ransom money and vanished without a trace. In the half-century since, Cooper's story has become legend. He is the only person in U.S. history to commit an unsolved air piracy case. His identity remains unknown, his fate a mystery. This is the story of D.B. Cooper, the man who vanished into thin air. Setting the stage, America in 1971. The early 1970s were turbulent years in America. The Vietnam War raged on, civil unrest gripped cities, and the airline industry was far different than today. Air travel was casual, almost shockingly unregulated by modern standards. Passengers could walk directly onto planes without searches, tickets were cheap, and hijackings were surprisingly common, often political stunts where planes were diverted to Cuba. But Cooper's hijacking was different. It wasn't political. It was meticulously planned, daring, and forever changed aviation security. The hijacking. Portland to Seattle, November 24, 1971. On Thanksgiving Eve, Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 prepared for a short 30-minute flight from Portland to Seattle. Among the 36 passengers was a middle-aged man carrying a briefcase. He identified himself as Dan Cooper when buying his ticket. Later, due to a reporter's mistake, he became famous as D.B. Cooper. Mid-flight, Cooper handed stewardess Florence Schaffner a note. At first, she ignored it, thinking it was just a flirtation. He leaned toward her and whispered, "Miss, you'd better read that. I have a bomb." The note demanded $200,000 in cash, for parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. To prove he was serious, Cooper opened his briefcase, showing what looked like red sticks of dynamite wired with batteries. The pilot notified authorities. The FBI and airline scrambled, but Cooper remained calm, smoking cigarettes and sipping bourbon while the plane circled Seattle for hours as the ransom was gathered. When the plane finally landed, Cooper exchanged the passengers for money and parachutes. Only the crew remained on board. The escape. After refueling, Cooper instructed the crew, "Fly south toward Mexico City. Keep the altitude low, under 10,000 feet. Keep the speed slow, about 200 miles per hour. Keep the landing gear down and cabin unpressurized." These were strange but very specific requests, suggesting Cooper knew a great deal about flying. Around 8 p.m., somewhere over the dense forests of Washington, Cooper opened the rear stairway of the Boeing 727. Against the freezing rain and pitch-black sky, he strapped on a parachute, tied the ransom money to himself, and leapt into the night. The crew felt a sudden change in air pressure and the plane's tail bounce. Cooper was gone. The search. When the plane landed in Reno, Nevada, Cooper was nowhere to be found. The FBI launched one of the largest manhunts in U.S. history. Agents searched the forests of Washington and Oregon, interviewing suspects, scouring for parachutes, footprints, or money. But nothing. It was as if Cooper had vanished into thin air. Theories. Did Cooper survive? The biggest question. Did Cooper live or die? Arguments against survival. The weather was brutal that night. Cold, rainy, with strong winds. Cooper jumped into darkness, wearing only a business suit, with no survival gear. The terrain below was rugged forest and rivers. Arguments for survival. Cooper seemed calm, confident, and knowledgeable about planes and parachutes. He chose the Boeing 727 specifically because its rear stairs could be lowered in flight, a rare detail not widely known. He took 2 parachutes, possibly to mislead authorities into thinking he might take a hostage, ensuring they gave him working gear. No body was ever found. The money clue. In 1980, a young boy camping with his family near the Columbia River discovered $5,800 in cash, still bundled with rubber bands, buried in sand. The serial numbers matched Cooper's ransom money. This proved that at least some of the money made it to the ground. But it only deepened the mystery. Why was only part of the ransom found? Did Cooper hide it? Did it wash ashore? Did he bury it before escaping? The suspects. Over the decades, the FBI investigated hundreds of suspects. Some of the most notable: Richard Floyd McCoy, a Vietnam veteran who pulled off a similar hijacking months later, parachuting out with money. He was caught and imprisoned, leading some to believe he was Cooper. But his age and appearance didn't match. Dwayne Webber, on his deathbed in 1995, Webber allegedly confessed to being Cooper. His widow reported suspicious behaviors, like nightmares about leaving fingerprints on a plane. Kenneth Christensen, a former Northwest Airlines employee and paratrooper. His background fit, but evidence was inconclusive. William Gossett, a military man obsessed with the case who later confessed to family members. Robert Rackstraw, a former Army pilot and explosives expert, linked by journalists as a possible Cooper. The FBI investigated but dismissed him publicly. Despite countless leads, none were definitively proven. The FBI investigation ends. For decades, the FBI pursued the case, keeping files open and evidence preserved. But in 2016, the Bureau officially closed the active investigation, citing lack of resources and no new credible leads. Still, the legend of Cooper only grew. Amateur sleuths, codebreakers, and internet forums continue the hunt, dissecting every detail. Why the case endures? The mystery of D.B. Cooper captivates because it is unique. Unlike other criminals, Cooper hurt no one during the hijacking, was calm, polite, even courteous to passengers and crew, pulled off an almost cinematic escape. He became a modern outlaw hero compared to Robin Hood or Jesse James. His cool demeanor and vanishing act cemented his place in American folklore. Legacy. Today, Cooper's case is a cultural phenomenon. There are books, movies, documentaries, even songs about him. The FBI's files remain online, available for anyone to examine. Each November, people gather in Ariel, Washington, for CooperCon, celebrating the mystery of the Skyjacker who got away. But beneath the legend remains a chilling truth. Cooper risked and perhaps lost his life in one of the most daring escapes ever attempted. Conclusion. On November 24, 1971, a man calling himself Dan Cooper leapt into a stormy night with $200,000 strapped to his body. He was never seen again. More than 50 years later, we still ask, who was he? Did he survive? And if so, where did he go? D.B. Cooper may have vanished, but his legend never will.